Hey there, I'm an animated Connor Walsh, which is kind of ironic because people say I'm pretty animated in real life. Anyway, welcome to Walsh Wednesday, my new/old podcast. Let me explain. Back in high school in 2013, I was pressured by some friends to do an impromptu solo acoustic performance in my cafeteria. Believe it or not, people really took to it. And it turned into a monthly musical series I did through the rest of high school. Who said High School Musical wasn't realistic? By college, I turned Walsh Wednesday into a web series, focusing on interviews surrounding community events, charities, and local entertainment in the Hudson Valley and capital regions of New York. Walsh Wednesday spawned several spin-offs such as the Walsh Wednesday Concert Series, Walsh Wednesday Spotlights, and Walsh Wednesday The Reflective Series before its hiatus in 2021. After that, I spent the last 3 years working in radio, honing my craft, conducting unbelievable interviews, traveling to fascinating places, attending mind-blowing events, and meeting some of my personal heroes. Now, with the help of some awesome people I've met along the way, I'm bringing Walsh Wednesday back bigger and better than ever. Let's stay curious, keep an open mind, and as always, I'm glad we get to spend some time. Welcome to Walsh Wednesday. On this week's episode, we speak with Jeff Feldman from Feldman, Kleidman, Collins & Sappe LLP in regards to his law firm, his various leadership roles here in the Hudson Valley, and what it means to create a legacy. Thank you to our Walsh Wednesday All-Stars, all of those who have generously contributed to the Walsh Wednesday 2025 Fund Drive. You can see the list of names on screen or in the description of this episode. And of course, thank you to our Walsh Wednesday Warriors, Jim Robinson, John Newhall, Meg Boyce, and Jenna Hess. These individuals have pledged $100 or more to Walsh Wednesday for 2025, either through the GoFundMe or our Patreon. This episode of Walsh Wednesday is brought to you by Impact PR and Communications, MHA of Dutchess County, the Council on Addiction Prevention and Education of Dutchess County Incorporated, Dayrock, Locks at Rock Hair Design, A Touch of Naples Pizza and Pasta, Dutchess Beer Distributors, Feldman, Kleidman, Collins & Sappe LLP Attorneys at Law, Tonka Williams on Aortic Health Awareness, and Walsh Valuation. Hey there, and welcome back to Walsh Wednesday. As always, we got a great episode for you guys today, and I'm really excited to have our guest in with us today. We have Jeff Feldman from Feldman, Kleidman, Collins & Sappe LLP Attorneys at Law. He's also involved with Hudson Valley Hospice, the LaGrange soccer program, and so much more. We became really good friends from the radio station, had him on a few times, and now really happy to have him here on Walsh Wednesday, here to kind of talk about legacy, talk about his community involvement, and probably a lot more that we'll get out of this episode. So Jeff, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So again, thank you for being here. We met through the radio station initially. Thank you for transitioning over here with me.
My pleasure. Our pleasure.
Absolutely. So want to start off by, congratulations when it comes to your law firm. Next year is marking 40 years in
It's pretty
February.
incredible.
Did you ever imagine that you'd still be doing this 40 years later?
Yes, to still doing this, because I still enjoy doing this.
That's
but
good.
Thinking back to when Paul Kleidman and I started the firm, it's like we never thought about like where we were going to be 10 years from now or 20 years from now. And I mean, sadly enough, it was just a few days ago that is the 19th anniversary of Paul passing.
I'm so sorry.
So he didn't, he saw the 20th anniversary. And clearly I wish he was around to see the 40th anniversary, but
Absolutely.
life happens.
Life does happen that way, but something in regards to that and something that we've talked about before I want to bring up, you never removed his name from the firm.
Nope.
Some people in their cases maybe would have, but you were like a staunch no.
Yeah, no.
And I just want to talk about that for a second. It's like, why was it that staunch no in order to keep his legacy and honor alive?
I mean, we did this together, and the beginning of a business, not that any business is easy to run, but when you're starting a business, especially in a community like this, where there were tons of other law firms and you're trying to create your own little niche within that community, because we practice in a relatively specialized field. I mean, Paul and I went through thick or thin together, and, nights, weekends, 7 days a week, all the work that we put in the phone calls and the developing of the business. I mean, there was never, ever a thought to taking his name out. It was, it's part of the fabric and the fiber of the firm.
Absolutely. After, all the partners that have come in and out
Yep.
since then. That's always going to be a staple. Now, we talked about that of just, always remaining part of the legacy. Something I don't think I know. How did you guys meet? Did you guys meet in law school, or how'd you guys even know each other?
So after I finished clerking for a judge in Monticello, which is the area that I grew up, I came to work for a firm in Poughkeepsie,
Hmm.
and I was at that firm for a number of years. And Paul left his position as an assistant corporation counsel in New York City and moved up here and went to work for that firm. And so, I became a partner there. He was an associate there, and his office was immediately next to our library or conference room.
There you go.
Okay. And he heard lots of screaming coming out of the conference room, and my voice back in, I want to say, December 1985, early January 1986. And I stormed out of the conference room. And as I was walking out, he came around the corner and he just looked at me and he said, "If you're leaving, I'm leaving with you."
Wow.
And we started to talk. That was the first conversation, because I hadn't discussed it with him before. And we started to have discussions about a plan. And we put the plan together. And in late February of 1986, we created Feldman and Kleidman.
Wow. So it sounds like things weren't going too great at the place before then.
Well, there were issues. Clearly, there were
Clearly
issues.
there were issues. That's funny. That sounds like a movie. That almost sounds like Jerry Maguire right
Oh,
there.
so-
when Tom Cruise storms out. That's great though, and I'm glad that you guys were able to create such a legacy. And now you did also say that you guys have a niche here in the community, and a lot of different law firms have specialties. So for anybody who doesn't know what your law firm specialty is, do you just want to give an overview on what you do here for the community?
Sure. So our practice is unique in the sense that we represent people who are injured
Hmm.
as a result of somebody else's negligence, not being careful, provided that they're not going to sue a doctor or a hospital. So we represent people who are injured in automobile accidents, construction accidents, slip and fall, dog bite, the whole gamut of negligence cases, products liability. But the other side of our practice is we represent doctors and healthcare providers who get sued for medical negligence or medical malpractice.
Mm.
So we're on both sides of the proverbial fence, doing both plaintiff's work and defense work
Very, very good. So and that's been what you've been doing the whole time,
the
right?
whole time.
Yeah.
Just civil litigation.
Nice. Very, very good. So, and I know that we've talked about this before. I think it was the very first conversation that we ever had back on the radio station for In Touch, in the post-COVID world, of how everything has kind of shifted and changed the way that the medical field is going, and how things in the law field has changed as well. I remember when we had that first conversation, that was about like 3 years ago
Mhm.
now. 3 years later, we're a little more detached from the pandemic, but what have you seen change when you have to have these litigations and the way things are gone about, specifically in the medical field?
So the big thing as far as the court system is concerned is that, prior to the pandemic, everything was done in person. So you always went to court for court conferences. Depositions were always done in person. There was a lot of time spent in your car traveling to these different things,
Yeah.
and a lot of time sitting around. Like a judge at court conferences, they may have 20 or 30 matters on, and you would spend the whole morning waiting for your matter to be called, and it would take like 5 minutes. Now, most depositions are done remotely via Zoom.
That's
And
crazy.
depending upon the judge, lots of judges are still doing court conferences via Teams, because Teams is the New York State court system, app.
Yeah.
So lots of judges are still doing those conferences via Teams. So you're sitting in your office waiting to do your conference. You could be productive doing other things, as opposed to sitting in the courtroom. To me, the downside of that is that you don't see the people that you used to see in the courthouse all the time.
Yeah.
And over the years, you build these relationships with other lawyers, and now you don't see them anymore. And so it's changed the dynamic. I don't think I miss not seeing the other lawyers as much and the
Yeah.
people that you've dealt with for years and that you had a personal relationship with. It's just not the same.
No, I totally get that. The interpersonal connections and the networking is really what helps you guys move along. And I'm sure that's what helps you get cases, gets referrals. If you need help with something, it's like, hey, I've got something that I've never seen before. Have you ever seen this? And
Correct.
be able to bounce it
Ju-
off each other.
And just to know about other people's family, their wives, their kids,
Yeah,
their grandkids, things like that. I mean, look, we're doing this in person, right?
exactly.
As opposed to by Zoom. So,
Exactly. No,
um,
I love doing this in person. We really only do the Zoom interviews, like if it's long
right.
distance or something. That or a couple times people have been sick and it's like, all right, you want to just do it from
Yeah.
home. But yeah, no, that's what I like about the interpersonal stuff. Just be able to face. It's nice. And obviously everybody's listening or
Right.
watching this, but it is still very
There's
personal.
nothing, there's no, I mean, you lose a lot by not being physically present.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And actually, I think that's a really good segue into
Okay.
some other things, being physically present. You've been very physically present in the community this whole time, being a part of, we were talking about, you just had the meeting with hospice. You're over there on the board of directors, then LaGrange Soccer Club, and I'm sure you're affiliated with more things that I'm not aware of yet. But i- where was this? Where was this interest in being involved in the community and kind of, in a sense, spreading the wealth? Did you always have that dream, or was that something that you were kind of thrust into based on your position in the community?
Wasn't really a dream, and I wasn't thrust into it.
Hmm.
When we moved here back in 1980, I was working for that firm, and then after Ron and I had our first child, he went to the Jewish Community Center for play group and different kinds of things, and the JCC was having issues, and so I went to a couple of meetings and I heard what was being discussed.
Hmm.
Um, and the next thing I knew, I was on the board. And um, and I learned a tremendous amount from that experience in the sense that, I mean, ultimately I became the chairperson of the board, I think.
Hmm.
But the number of different types of people that were on the board and listening to how they analyzed problems and how they came to solutions, it was a learning experience. Because look, there's a divergence of opinions, and there was a huge divergence
Oh
of
yeah.
opinions on that board. And so that was my first experience with being involved in a non-for-profit. And I learned things from the auditors and about finance and different kinds of things.
Yeah.
And then similarly, my kids were involved in LaGrange soccer,
Yeah.
and there were issues with the LaGrange soccer board. And I went to a couple of those meetings. And the next thing I knew, I was the president of that board for like, I don't know, 10, 15 years. I'm still a little bit involved. I'm not on the board. And that led me to be on the Town of LaGrange Recreation Parks and Recreation Committee,
Mm.
which I've been on for more than 20 years, I think. And it was as a result of Paul's passing.
Hmm.
Hospice was beyond incredible in the last month of his life. And so I wanted to give back to them. And so I first got involved in the Hospice Foundation board and was on that board for a long time and the chairperson of that board for a long time. And then I gravitated over to the hospice board, which is the board that the foundation raises money for hospice
Hmm.
and to provide charity care and to do other things because not everybody, um, I can get into this in a second with
Yeah.
you, but there's a need for fundraising for hospice. Okay.
Yes.
Then I went on the hospice board, which is the board that oversees the provision of hospice services, the care that's rendered to people who are in need. And so I've been on that board for a while, and I became the chairperson of that board like a year and a half ago.
There you go.
Paul was very involved in Arlington School and Arlington School Board and things like that. And
Mm.
he was on the board of the Kingston Hospital. So we both did, our share of being involved in giving back to the community.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. And what I really love about this is it's something that you were involved in, something with family or friends, and then it just kind of naturally happened, whether you meant for it or not.
Right.
But you are a great leader, and you have great speaking skills, you have great analytical skills. So I'm sure all those skills played into helping out each one of these things, and then you learned from each one. Just as you said with the JCC, how that was like your first experience is like, it's kind of like a wake up call. It was
Right.
like, wow, okay. And then probably brought it all together. Now
I
you
left out family services.
got
So,
family services
so I've
too.
been on the family services board for like 4 or 5 years. My wife and I were honored as Family of the Year
Oh, wow.
back in like 2017 or 2018. And I don't know if you've ever been to that event. It's an
No, I
incredible
haven't
event
yet.
with, so it's like hundreds of people, like from all walks of life. Like, it's an amazing event. Anyhow, um, my discussion at that event or speech regarding family services and what family services means, and the whole family partnership center and that building and all the different entities that are in that building and the community that is served not only by family services but by the different tenants that we have in that building.
Yeah.
That led to them asking me to be on that board. So I've been on that board for a while.
A lot
Okay.
of asking to be on the boards.
Right. So I enjoy it, and you're giving back, and like I'm fortunate as far as how my life has turned out, and my kids are healthy. They're all in good places. My grandchildren are healthy. My wife is healthy, and so in some way, giving back to the community seems like it's pretty appropriate.
No, absolutely. No, to be able to give back and, you are in a good position and health is wealth. Health really
Yep.
is wealth. So to be able to take that health, take that wealth, take those opportunities and experiences that you've had and just kind of build upon it to add to
Right.
many other people's experiences, lives. No, that's huge to be able to help out in those ways. Let's talk about hospice for a second,
Okay.
since you were just getting out of a meeting there.
Right.
You'll have another meeting there
Yep.
later. And one of the things that we were heavily talking about when we were at the radio station was the hospice house.
Correct.
And that was a big project that you had to get done. And I'm sure that probably played into some of the fundraising you were also talking about. But I want to give you a moment here to talk about the hospice house and talk about the fundraising aspect.
Sure. So it was a team effort. Like I was a small part of that team.
Yeah.
But the board and the executive team and our CEO Mike Kaminsky and Lisa Wilson who
Oh,
heads
yes,
the
Lisa.
foundation, and our whole executive team and executive staff. It's just an amazing group of people. So the hospice house opened about a year and a half ago. It's a 14-bed facility. You've been there, right?
I've been
Okay,
there. It's
okay.
gorgeous.
It is it's hard to explain to someone that we have this place where people go to die, which is
Yeah.
like that's the net of the whole thing, and it's gorgeous. Like
Yeah.
that seems like an oxymoron, okay? But when you walk into that building, there's an instant catharsis that you feel, and sort of a calming effect. And
Yes.
for the patients and the patients' families, the angst of being a caregiver or the angst of not knowing, like, that noise, what does that mean? And is that a normal part of the dying process, or is something wrong? Should I be doing something else? I mean, that's the whole part of hospice. You're dealing with all these professionals who know what this whole thing is, and they help you through this transition.
Yeah.
But the hospice house is for people who don't want to die at home. They don't want to die in a hospital or in a nursing home. And it's a 14-bed facility. Each room is a private room. Each room has the availability for family members to stay there. You can bring your pet there. There's a courtyard out in the back. So depending upon the person's physical condition, they can either sit outside or their bed can be brought outside. It's just a tremendous facility that is overseen by Ingrid Forte, who's a key person there. And it's just amazing. And the feedback from the families who have experienced this, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
It's a service that the community definitely was in need of. It's taken a little while to get the staffing up to what it needs to be. But like right now, all 14 rooms are taken. And so it's an incredible service that's being provided for people who are at that point in their life. Look, we're all going to die. Okay,
Yeah.
we don't have any control over that. So you might as well make the best of it and have professionals help you through that process. As far as the foundation is concerned,
Yeah.
different forms of insurance, whether it's your private health insurance, Medicaid, Medicare, cover certain of the hospice expenses,
Mm.
but there's some people who have complicated care, and either Medicaid or Medicare doesn't pay for those medicines or those medications. And so the foundation raises money so that those people can get what they need, and they don't have a debt, or their family doesn't have a debt, and they just walk away from that whole experience and the thing is paid for. But there are other situations where, and I'll give you one specific example that always comes to mind. Um, an elderly couple, typical blue collar individuals, their social life was Friday night. The husband always took the wife to a particular diner to have
Mm.
dinner.
Yeah.
Okay. And so now Mrs. is on hospice, and she's on hospice home health, at home. And the husband wants to take her to the diner for dinner.
Yeah.
So arranging an ambulette and all of the other things, and to make sure that they had the services and that it was done safely. I mean, none of that is covered by insurance.
No.
Okay. But he got to do that, and the Hospice Foundation paid for that. So that's just one example of how the foundation makes a difference as far as charity care is concerned. And when you get into the nitty gritty of the number of people at hospice that were involved in facilitating something like that, it really shows the true measure of those people and
Yeah.
what their mission is and why they do what they do. They're special.
No, very, very special, and you're a part of that, absolutely.
Well,
But
I support it.
you support it, but it's still, and you need that support, and you need every facet of it. Just hearing about all that, I'll admit I'm getting a little emotional thinking
Yeah,
about, like,
it's-
my grandparents, especially. I'm without all my grandparents at this point, and I believe 3 out of the 4 grandparents had been on hospice, and just the way that the whole family was treated, not just them, but
Correct.
how everybody was treated was such a miraculous experience to be able to have that help. Now, we weren't in the hospice house, but just to have the hospice people come
Correct.
in, help us work through it. And you're right, there are things about the process like, am I doing this right? Are we doing this right? Are we giving the right care? It does help relieve a lot of
I know,
stuff
I
on the
know we talked
shoulders.
about this before when we
Yeah.
did this on the radio. It is always, first of all, the misconceptions about hospice are huge. Okay.
Yes.
Lots of people look at it as they're throwing in the towel or they're giving up, as opposed to making the most of the time that's left.
Yeah.
Okay. But from a society point of view, people always want to go to the best lawyer, the best doctor, the best car mechanic. They want to know who the best electrician is, the best plumber. And yet, when you come to this end of life situation, they're reluctant to be in the safety net
Right.
of being with the best people who are the most qualified to help you through that process. I don't understand it, but I think it's all based upon a misunderstanding of what hospice is and what hospice does.
Yeah. No, it's a huge level of care. It's a huge level of really, holding your hand and guiding you the right way. And also, I gotta say, the stuff that happened like post my grandparents passing, I remember when my grandmother passed, that was my first experience working with hospice.
Mhm.
And they said to us, it's like, hey, we have grief
Bereavement.
counseling.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have bereavement. You could do this, I believe, at 18 months.
Yep.
That was what we did. It was incredible.
Just-
I jumped on it. For most of my life, I was like anti-counseling, anti-therapy, anti-anything like that. I don't know why. I don't know why I was anti that. I still can't describe.
Right.
But by the time my grandmother passed, I'm like, sold, sign me
Yeah.
up. I need
Yeah.
it. And it was incredible. And it's led me on this fascinating mental health journey that I could never have expected.
Right.
And I thank my grandmother every day,
Yeah.
being like, thanks, Grams, for that one last like really big gift, because
Yeah.
I know it's been a huge
Yeah,
help.
there's lots of services for the family, and that was part of what I was so grateful to hospice for. That Paul was on hospice for almost a month, and afterwards, I was included as part of his family. Even though I wasn't quote unquote family.
Yeah.
And I got the mailings, and I would read them, and I didn't necessarily go to them, to the counseling
Yeah.
sessions, but just reading the different bulletins that came every couple of weeks made you realize that what you were going through mentally and emotionally was no different than what everybody else does, and it's a
Yeah.
process.
Absolutely. And what you said there about not technically being family,
Uh,
but being family
uh,
there. I'm of the belief that family doesn't have to be blood. It's really that
Without question.
connectivity.
Yeah.
It's, the found families. I'm an only child, but I thoroughly 100% believe I have brothers and sisters.
Oh, yeah.
I have some really incredible people in my life where it's like, yeah, I don't need to have like a blood relative sibling. Like my kids are going to have aunts and uncles
Right.
nonetheless.
Correct.
And it's a really warm feeling having that kind of sense of community. And that's something that you've really nurtured amongst all these different things with your law firm, with hospice, with all these different community organizations. It's really overwhelming, and again, I'm kind of emotional. It's thinking about
No.
my grandparents still. It's like it's definitely hitting me in that way. And pause. We're going to take a quick break from our interviews to hear from our sponsors. First up, we got our friend Andrew O'Grady from MHA of Dutchess County.
Adversity and stress. How do you cope? I'm dealing with a voice issue right now, my own adversity and stress, so let's use AI Andy for the rest of this message. Take it away, AI Andy.
This is Andrew O'Grady, CEO at MHA of Dutchess County. We all move on a scale of mental wellness. It can shift minute by minute, hour by hour, based on what we face. What happens when it piles on? How do you cope? Do you turn to the bottle or vape? Do you medicate with pills not prescribed for that purpose? Do you become short-tempered and argue with others? Are you quick to road rage? These are self-defeating and negative reactions, and they're unhealthy and can lead to self-inflicted further stress. There's no shame in seeking to improve you by engaging in self-care with a therapist. If you do not know where to start, talk to your primary care physician. You can always contact Mental Health America of Dutchess County at 845-473-2500, and if we don't have a specific program to help you, we will help guide you to one.
Thanks, AI Andy. You sound pretty good.
Thanks, Andrew and AI Andy. Next, we have a message from our friend Jeff Feldman from Feldman, Kleidman, Collins & Sappe LLP Attorneys at Law.
Hi, I'm Jeff Feldman. In 1986, when Paul Kleidman and I started our practice, our goal was to create a law firm where you could meet with an attorney and feel confident that that attorney would be with you every step of the way. Today, the firm has been successfully trying cases at all levels of state and federal courts throughout the Hudson Valley and Capital District. We have been selected as one of the best personal injury and medical malpractice defense law firms by U.S. News and World Report every year since 2009. For all of those years, we were the only firm chosen in any litigation specialty between Albany and White Plains. Your case is important to us. Giving you the time and personal attention you deserve has always been the hallmark of success. Initial consultations are free of charge and always with an attorney.
September will be Aortic Disease Awareness Month. To prepare us for September, we have a message from nurse leader and health advocate, Tonka Williams.
Peace and blessings, family. I am Tonka Williams, a proud Black woman, a nurse, and your advocate for cardiovascular health and wellness. We're going to talk about something that's quietly claiming the lives of too many of us in the Black community: aortic disease. The aorta is your body's largest artery. When it weakens or tears, it's just not a health issue. It's an emergency. And the painful truth, many of us have never heard of it before. And if we have, we don't always know the signs or how to protect ourselves. That ends today. This isn't just about personal health. It's about protecting our families and building a future where our people thrive. Advocacy is our inheritance. Learn the signs. Get your pressure checked. Ask your doctor about your aorta. Talk to your family. This is how we protect our legacy. My heart, my health, my power. Stay safe, stay strong, and stay here with us. Thank you, and may you walk in health, purpose, and power.
For additional information, please visit the John Ritter Foundation website, johnritterfoundation.org. And please check out the full video at Tonka Williams' YouTube channel at Tonka Williams-aortic-awareness. Up next, we have our friend Philomena Finelli from Impact PR and Communications.
Thanks, Connor. I'm Philomena Finelli, CEO of Impact PR and Communications and a media maven, which is a fancy way of saying that my team and I help companies get in the news, transform leaders into thought leaders, and cut through the clutter with messaging that matters. And we do it all with a smile. Our agency was named the Woman-Owned Small Business of the Year for 2024 by the Metro New York District Office of the U.S. Small Business Administration, and we received the Gold Stevie Award for Women-Run Workplace of the Year, which is an international recognition. But it's not about the awards, it's about the personal interactions. We at Impact PR and Communications pride ourselves on crafting meaningful, results-driven public relations campaigns that are tailored to meet and exceed our clients' goals. If you want to learn more and talk to my team and I, visit prwithimpact.com and let us know that you found out about us from Walsh Wednesday.
Now for a quick word from Duchess Beer Distributors. Throughout the month of August, Duchess Beer Distributors, in collaboration with Stella Artois, is hosting the Mid-Hudson Valley's Perfect Serve Shuffleboard Showdown. Visit one or more of Duchess Beer Distributors' pop-up promotions to play games and win prizes at some of your favorite restaurants and bars in Dutchess and Ulster counties. You can see the list of locations in the description of this episode. Thanks for listening, guys. It's time to get back to the show. And play. This episode of Walsh Wednesday is brought to you by Impact PR and Communications, MHA of Dutchess County, the Council on Addiction Prevention and Education of Dutchess County Incorporated, Dayrock, Lockset Rock Hair Design, A Touch of Naples Pizza and Pasta, Duchess Beer Distributors, Feldman, Kleidman, Collins & Sappe LLP Attorneys at Law, Tonka Williams on Aortic Health Awareness, and Walsh Valuation. But as you said, the hospice house in particular, it's been open for a year and a half. When we were just talking about it the first time, it was just a matter of it opening.
Correct.
But now that you have like this year and a half, you said you've heard from a number of these families. Do you have any specific cases or specific stories that you're allowed to or feel comfortable talking about that they've expressed to you?
There's lots. One that comes to mind was an individual who was a registered nurse, not for hospice, but a registered nurse that was a patient at the hospice house. And the manner in which she was treated by the other nurses at the hospice house and the physicians there, et cetera, saying that there's a particular prayer or poem for nurses that was read at or about the time of her passing, and the manner in which the whole thing was dealt with. Like, her family was just overwhelmed by the way she was treated and how beautiful the end was. All the veterans who were there, because we have a special classification as far as treating veterans. There's a specific service that's done when, after they pass, they're flag draped as they're brought out of their room. There's sort of an alert that goes by tiger text to the other employees so that people are free. And if they're a veteran, they can go there and be there and line the halls when the vet is brought out and brought to the funeral home. Stories of, there was one particular young lady, I don't remember a lot of the specifics about her, but she wasn't from the area. I think she was in her 20s.
Oh, wow.
And there was no question but that her time was near, and she somehow or another heard about the hospice house, came up here with a bunch of her other, similar aged friends. They were outside in the courtyard, they played guitar, they sang songs all night. She wanted to see the Hudson River, and similarly arrangements were made, and she was brought to the banks of the Hudson to see the river, and then brought back and was with all of her friends. And she passed the way she wanted to. And for her friends to be able to participate in that, especially like young people who are losing somebody like that, those are some that, there's a lot more, but those are the ones that immediately come to mind.
Wow, they're really beautiful, and thank you for sharing those. And I'm glad that you shared that last one in particular, because that's another misconception and something even when we talk I forget about.
Same with little kids.
Young people.
Yeah.
Young people can be in hospice, are in hospice. And it's heartbreaking, but that's also a very beautiful and touching story from what you're saying. In the last 10 years, 5 years definitely, but ever since I graduated from high school, I've lost a lot of friends very, very young, and it is a difficult experience. So to be able to bring them all together, play guitar, see the river, play, just have those last final moments are phenomenal. And one thing that I'm just getting out of all this that you're talking about, something that you're doing very, very well is truly caring for the individual, truly caring for the person, whether that's through your firm, whether that's through hospice, whether that's through family services, really, truly caring for the person. And I feel like that's a big thing that unfortunately is getting missed a lot these days. We're in a very in the technological age that we are in, and as you're saying, like, talk about the depositions again, just having the Zoom, that disconnect. Talk to me about that level of the individual across everything that you do. Why is it so important to you to really get down to the individual?
So in the professional life, when you represent people who are severely injured, life was fine 10 minutes ago, and then all of a sudden they're in a catastrophic accident or some other incident, and now life is upside down. And it could be that they have kids in college, they have mortgage payments, they can't go back to work. There are financial issues plus the physical issues and the need for care and surgery and things like that.
Yeah.
You see people in a particular position, and it makes you like so thankful for the position that you're in.
Yeah.
Like, when you're looking at that. And similarly, representing physicians over, 40 plus years who were sued for malpractice. Do we settle cases? Yes. Are there mistakes that are made? Obviously, but the doctors, it's not that they did this on purpose, or like, people make mistakes. It doesn't matter whether you're an auto mechanic, an electrician, a plumber, a lawyer, or a physician. People make mistakes. They didn't do it on purpose. It weighs on them incredibly. And then there's that segment where something bad happened to someone. The doctor is getting blamed, but the doctor has no fault. Okay. In other words, it's just bad luck. Bad things happen. Like, not everybody gets cured. Not every surgery is successful. And dealing with those doctors and seeing them in the position where they're being accused of hurting someone where they did their level best, and seeing the angst that it causes for them and for their family, and then going through, the lengthy period of discovery and dealing with them, you become part of their family. And then, through their trial, where you actually try their case, and, knock on wood, the vast majority of them have won, you become really close to what they went through, and you see how unnerving the whole process is. So that's really where it all comes from, of breaking it down to an individual basis.
Yeah. Based on what you're saying, and I think this is truly incredible in that sense, when people think about people in healthcare, really almost any field, it could be just over at McDonald's even too, people forget that the people who are serving them are people.
Right.
And at the end of the day, we're all people, we're all going through it. We're not NPCs, we're actual living, breathing people. So when you're coming in, and especially in the cases of, say, the healthcare physicians, the doctors, a lot of these people are almost seen on a pedestal as superhuman, or just like, hey, you're in this field, you should get it.
Not so much anymore.
No,
People are pretty
no.
upset with the healthcare system.
Exactly.
But it's not the doctor's fault.
But it's not their fault.
Yeah, it's the system's fault. It's from what happens with the different insurance companies and the bureaucracy that's involved.
Yes.
The doctors are just as unhappy about it as the patients are.
Exactly. Most of the times they want to be able to do something
Right.
that they can, and
They
their
didn't go to-
hands are tied. I feel like we could go on long tangents and conversations, but so many systems, whether it's the healthcare system, whether it's the educational system, I never blame the individual. I'm never like over here saying like, oh, screw this doctor or whatever. I kind of look at the
Right.
system they're coming
Well,
from.
I'm going to disagree with you there. Okay. And I'll okay.
I'm sure there are cases, but yes.
Okay. So as far as the political system is concerned, there I blame the individual.
Oh, political. Okay. Gotcha.
So
yes.
because those people have a choice of doing the right thing or the wrong thing, and when they do it to protect their career so that they can stay in office, that's a whole other kettle of fish.
Yes. Okay. I thought you were going to talk about like the political side of like the doctors and the healthcare. Yes, I will agree with you there.
So
absolutely. Okay. Now I see what you're saying. Absolutely. I agree with you there. It is a crazy time politically, and not just politically, but I feel like it is a sense of the media, and every source of media is always just trying to grab your attention, and everybody's just trying, and what gets people's attention is rage bait, unfortunately. So in a world that is full of rage bait, when you're taking care of these individual people, what do you have to say for anybody listening or anybody that you meet what do you have to say to them to kind of step away from that rage bait mentality?
I think you have to break it down to their individual situation, make sure that they understand the process and understand what to expect. Because, really, this is very analogous to what we were talking about as far as hospice is concerned.
Yeah.
Okay. So most people who are either injured or a doctor being sued, it's their first experience with the legal system.
Yeah.
They don't know what to expect, and you need to guide them through the process so that when things happen, they understand that that's part of the norm and that's expected, and that makes them more comfortable with the system. I think that's the key in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, very similar to what you were saying with hospice too, how hold people's hands through the process. Same thing here as well. You're right. Like a doctor or an individual who got hurt, they're not going to be as versed in law. They need somebody to help guide them through
And
it.
unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation on the internet,
Yes.
and that leads them to certain ideas or opinions, which you have to deprogram them.
Yes, absolutely. Actually, that's a really good question there to lead into. What are some common misconceptions that you feel that you have to deprogram people out of?
I mean, as far as the litigation system is concerned, people who are injured will go online and they'll see that a particular case with a similar injury, that the award was, some outrageous amount of money, and then they think that's what their case is worth, when in reality, the blurb might be missing lots of details, or there was an appeal and an appellate court reversed the damage award,
Yep.
and the person had to wait 4 or 5 years for a new trial.
Oof.
And that's not what they got. And
Yeah.
for the doctors, there are also lots of different medical throwaway journals that are written by doctors who lost their license because they got sued too many times. And so then they write these articles about how to deal with the court system and what to do and what not to do. And those people weren't successful in what they did before. So why take their advice now?
Right.
So-
Honestly, if they were sued that many times, I would not be taking their advice. I don't even know why they would be put in a publication like that. But some people just have a very loud voice and love talking or writing or
Exactly.
whatever. That is interesting, and that is funny. It's kind of almost like how people WebMD their
Yeah.
symptoms and whatnot. It's like, oh my God, I have this disease. And it's like, you just have a runny nose, you're fine. It sounds very similar kind of mentality with
Correct.
that. So to be able to kind of break that stigma, I think that's good to help bring them down to
Yeah.
earth and get that sense. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that as well. So we still have time, and we still have other things that you're involved with as well. You said how you were honored for Family Services several years ago, and how you've been a part of that. How has working with Family Services kind of changed your life in the last few years, and what in particular are you doing to help support them in your position?
My initial sort of involvement with Family Services was catching up with Leah Feldman, who at the time was working at Family Services and dealing with women who had been sexually abused.
Yes.
Okay. Leah's now the CEO of Family Services. So she's a rock star.
Now, of course,
She
no
was-
relation, right?
No relation to me.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I should say that, but she's everybody thinks she's my daughter, but
Yep.
she's not. Okay. The patient population that Family Services deals with, whether it's victims of gun violence, behavioral people who are in need of behavioral health services, the sexual issues and abuse and things like that, it was a eye-opening. You always knew that there were people that were desperately in need,
Yeah.
but the degree of the need was an eye-opening experience. At the time, touring the Family Partnership Center, which is owned by Family Services and has lots of tenants. A lot of the tenants also provide services to the lower socioeconomic population.
Yeah.
Okay. Just seeing what was done and how, again, the individuals who work for Family Services, they're not doing it to get rich. Okay.
No.
The amount that they sacrifice to be able to help those who are desperately in need is just amazing. And so both being on the board as well as some of the different committees of the board, and seeing all the different tentacles of the organizations and how it is involved in different aspects of the community. I mean, it's amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So,
No, and I think that's interesting talking about the perspective of understanding the need for certain things because it's there, but then actually being physically a part of it, it's crazy. To give you a personal example, one of the first charities that I started working with was the American Cancer Society. I
Okay.
had a lot of family members, a lot of friends too, who, had cancer, got involved because of them. And that was kind of my first steps into really community outreach. And that was something that I was doing from when I was a teenager. But then when I got to college, I got involved with the Albany County Crime Victims Unit and Sexual Assault Unit.
mhm.
I got involved with that very similar how I did with American Cancer Society through music, through entertainment. And it was an eye-opening experience. It's like I knew people in need on the cancer side, on the hospital side, and that's what I was used to for so long. But then, when stepping into those events for the Crime
Yeah.
Victims and Sexual Assault Unit, that was mind-blowing. And just when you thought like you're helping out and you're doing this and you found your niche, and then you see this too, it's like, wow, there are infinite amount of causes
There's-
out there to really, really
There's
get
so much
into.
need. There's so much need.
There is so much need, and then it kind of like leaves you feeling, it left me feeling this way, at least at first. How can I do it? How can I help it all? It's like, how can I just narrow it down to like one or two things?
You do it
Holy-
one pebble at a time.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. Like, what would you say to anybody who is struggling with that fact? It's like, how I can't possibly help everything. So
I mean, for people who are listening, you don't have to be on the board.
Yeah.
Okay. So, whether it's family services or hospice or Abilities First or any of the other, worthwhile organizations that are providing services, Grace Smith House, mental health.
fantastic.
Okay.
Yes.
All these organizations rely on volunteers, and whether you have 2 hours a week or 5 hours a week, it could be, stuffing envelopes or answering telephones or doing something else. They all are in desperate need of volunteers, and not everybody has the wherewithal or the time or wants to be on a board. I know lots of people like that, but you need, there's other ways to give back.
Yeah. There's so many different ways, the human capital, the time capital, and then financial capital,
Correct.
however you can go about it. And the one thing that I've really kind of settled down with myself is like, it's okay to find the niche. You don't have to help absolutely everything.
No.
It's impossible to do that, really. But if you can really give your time, attention, and energy to the things that you are passionate about, you are making the world a better place. Or you're making at least somebody's world a better place.
You just do. You do
Yeah.
the right thing.
Absolutely. So as we are kind of winding this up, there's a question that I normally ask people that I just meet. You and I, we've known each other for a while, but
Okay.
I think this will be a very important question to ask because I think this would be good for a lot of people listening. What are you passionate about? And it doesn't have to be work. It doesn't
Okay.
have to be anything about work. If you want to talk
Okay.
about work, go ahead. But what are the things you are passionate about?
So the thing that I'm the most passionate about is my family.
Mhm.
Okay. Rona and I are blessed with 3 terrific kids each of whom found their soulmates and are all, married. They each have 2 kids. So we have 6 grandchildren between the ages of 3 and almost 12.
Fantastic.
And, spending time with them and, doing things with them is one passion. Obviously, I'm passionate about the practice of law and the firm, my circle of friends and the people that they're not my family, but they are my family and
Yeah.
they mean an awful lot to me. These different organizations that I serve on. So, did you meet Kettle?
No, I haven't. Not
Okay.
in person. Not in
Obviously.
person, but yes.
Okay. And obviously I can't leave Kettle out, my Bernese Mountain Dog.
Absolutely, yes. Met over Zoom a
Zoom,
couple of
yep,
times,
yep.
but yeah,
She's
not in
always at my
person.
side.
Yep, that is so sweet. And I know one other thing that you are passionate about as well, skiing. You
Oh,
love
yeah.
skiing. I know it's the summer right now, so you're
Right.
probably not getting much of that in. But
No, that's like it. In the summertime, the kids and now my grandkids. That we talk about skiing all summer.
Do
And,
ya?
Yeah, all my kids and my grandkids are just they love skiing. I love skiing with them.
Nice.
It's my incentive for working out 6 days a week so that I know that I'm in good enough physical shape
There you go.
to be able to ski with them. Although I'm having more and more difficulty keeping up with the almost 12-year-old.
I was going to say they're probably
Yeah,
getting good now.
He's passed me a little bit, so but hopefully you won't hear me say that.
We'll cut that part out just for him. All right. No, but that's so great, and I love that though. That's something you're able to do with your family
Yeah.
and the passion of your family. Summertime, no water skiing, no
Golf.
water skiing.
Golf, but
Golf. Okay.
golf is more of a frustration. Golf is a great activity for spending time with people you care about.
Yeah.
It's not about the golf.
No.
But it is a frustrating sport.
It can be. My dad, who's a phenomenal golfer, and off camera, you can't see this. The family room was modeled after golf. Like that's the whole reason why it's all
Okay.
green here.
Okay.
And my dad's big time golfer. We used to joke around when Dad would consistently go out golfing on Sundays with his golf buddies. We would kind of joke around. It's like that's his church.
Okay.
Saying it's like he's sure saying a lot to God when he's out there. God.
Yeah.
Those are his
True.
moments of prayer.
True.
No,
True.
he was a phenomenal golfer. I don't want to make it sound like
That's
he wasn't. He was great. County amateur, 98 and 99.
Wow.
We always said it was from rocking me.
Oh, okay.
It was, he would be like, all right, Connor, we got a 200-yard shot. Here we go. Whee!
Good.
But, no, I digress. But Jeff, again, thank you for answering that question on passions. I knew we were going to get a great answer
fine.
out of it. As we're wrapping up this episode, do you have any last little nugget that you want to share to the Walsh Wednesday listening audience? Could be about community and literally anything.
Just do it.
Just do it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, where can people find you or find information on your firm?
So the firm is, you can find us on the internet, www.fkcs.law. Information about hospice or family services or any of the other organizations that I mentioned, that we support in a charitable way, like Abilities First. They all have terrific websites, and they are all trying to raise money for very good purposes and to provide services to people who are not as fortunate as you and I. So.
Terrific. And of course, we'll try to have as many of those links and information in the description of this episode so you don't have to hunt it down. Try to make it nice and easy for you guys. Jeff, again, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here. Really appreciate
Appreciate
it. I'm Connor.
I'm Jeff.
And as always, we're glad we get to.
Spend some time.
And that's a wrap on this week's episode. Much love to our sponsors this week, Impact PR and Communications, MHA of Dutchess County, Locks That Rock Hair Design, Dutchess Beer Distributors, A Touch of Naples Pizza and Pasta, the Council on Addiction Prevention and Education of Dutchess County, Tonka Williams on Aortic Health Awareness, Feldman, Kleidman, Collins & Sappe LLP Attorneys at Law, Walsh Valuation, and Dayrock. Thank you to our Walsh Wednesday All-Stars, all of those who have generously contributed to the Walsh Wednesday 2025 Fund Drive. You can see the list of names on screen or in the description of this episode. And of course, thank you to our Walsh Wednesday Warriors, Jim Robinson, John Newhall, Meg Boyce, and Jenna Hess. These individuals have pledged $100 or more to Walsh Wednesday for 2025, either through the GoFundMe or our Patreon. You can support this channel by becoming a Patreon member with memberships as low as $5 a month. With that, you can get behind-the-scenes content, your name featured in the credits of each episode, and access to the Spend Some Time chat. You can find that and more by scanning the QR code on your screen or by going to the links in the description. As always, I'm Connor Walsh, and I'm glad we get to spend some time.